and the Ukrainian people very soon. Thank you.
President Zelensky, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Dear President of the House, Madam President of the Senate, esteemed members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to tell you that I'm honored to greet you all and truly grateful for the opportunity, today's opportunity to address the Parliament of the Netherlands and at such a meaningful moment. We are now in the midst of the most intense and focused negotiations for peace since the beginning of this war, for true lasting peace. And we are not talking about a pause or a temporary uncertain solution. We are working closely with partners to finally end this Russian war against Ukraine and through Ukraine against the very essence of life in Europe. And that's why now we need the same strong political support that we had at the beginning of this war. Back then, the future was shaped by our joint efforts in defense. Today, the future depends on our shared political positions and political decisions. They once needed to root out every cause of this war. The current Russian leader, and after him, all of his propagandists often use the term root causes of the war, as if there is something inevitable that forces Russia to keep fighting, and as if the reasons of Russia's wars were not inside Russia and not a part of its own nature, but instead located somewhere outside, somewhere in Ukraine, in Europe, in NATO, or elsewhere. They always blame others and always try to explain their wars through someone else's actions, as if the reason for their aggression is never in Moscow, but always in their neighbors. Let's look at Russia's history since 1991. From then until today, Russia has changed. It has been poor and rich. It has gone from oligarchy to dictatorship, but one thing has remained the same. It keeps bringing war and hatred. From Chechnya to the Balkans, from Moldova to Syria, from countries in Central Africa to Ukraine, Russia chooses conflict over peace. And Russians always say they're somehow not guilty, somehow. And someone else, not Russia, is always expected to make concessions so that Russia might stop spreading bloodshed. And that's always something they claim must be given up so they can stop killing. Now, in Russia's war against us, our people, our country, this logic has reached its largest and most dangerous scale. Russia has invaded our home. It's destroying our cities, our villages, killing Ukrainians, our children, and at the same time demanding that we give up parts of our land they haven't even managed to conquer. Russia keeps nearly a million strong occupation force on our territory, and yet it demands that Ukraine accept limits on our right to join alliances and on our sovereignty. Russia strikes our infrastructure, our cities and villages, our energy, and blame us in it. And when we strike back, they cry out as if only they have the right to strike and others must stay silent and suffer. That is Russia. And the truth is, we are dealing with a chronic offender. At the root of all the problems and even of every Russian strike is this: Russia behaves like a career criminal who's convinced he will never be caught. Russia feels unsafe when its neighbors are safe, and it feels bad when their neighbors are doing well. Russia is a state that fundamentally rejects the idea of everyone, including itself, playing by the same rules. And that's exactly where the real path to peace begins. It's not enough to force Russia into a deal. It's not enough to make it stop killing. We must make Russia accept that there are rules in the world and that it cannot deceive everyone. This is the path to lasting peace. And I thank you, Netherlands, for standing with us on this path and for supporting all the elements of the just end to this war, from stopping the killing to defending justice for Ukraine. It truly matters, and I'm sincerely grateful to you for that. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, together with partners, we are working not only to stop the bloodshed, but to change the situation along Russia's borders so there is no opportunity to start another war. And we understand that criminals don't change in a day. That's why the talks these days are not only about ceasefire, but about security guarantees. This is not only about diplomacy, not only about physical security. It's also about making Russia finally learn to live by the rule of law. And it will only work if there is true accountability, if the punishment of the aggressor becomes inevitable. Yes, it's not easy, but it's not as difficult as some may try to portray it. We have already done a great job. Now we simply need to press forward and bring the criminal to justice. Last week, I visited one of our cities on the front line, yes, our city of Kupiansk. And it's a city in the eastern Ukraine, and the front line is now very really close to it. And Putin publicly lied, claiming that Russian forces had already taken the city. So I went to Kupiansk myself to show the world Putin is lying, to show only one thing, this. And we must keep exposing every single Russian falsehood, because truth restores justice. And I will continue to destroy every Russian line on the front line and around the world. And I urge you to support Ukraine in this effort. This is how it works. Truth is the ground on which justice grows. The same applies to the issue of damage caused by Russian aggression. Of course, right now, European leaders have the decision on the table regarding frozen Russian assets. Most of these assets allocated in Europe, and these Russian assets can and must be fully used to defend against Russia's own aggression. The aggressor must pay. And this is also about restoring justice, and in a way that Russia will truly feel. Putin does not believe in people. He believes only in power and in money. He spends around 30,000 soldiers' lives on the front every month. Not wounded, 30,000 each month killed. And there was a month when 25,000 Russians were killed. Another month, 31,000. We have drone footage confirming these deaths. Russian assaults are always insanely bloody, but Putin does not care. Russians don't count their dead, but they do count every dollar and every euro they lose. That is why a strong decision on Russian money is needed, and these funds must work to defend against Russia. And I urge you to support this. Next point, Each day now, Ukrainians are working to restore electricity, heating, and water after Russian missiles and drones attacks. Russia is deliberately targeting our infrastructure. They know that in our region, the winter cold can become one of the most dangerous weapons. They try to use it against Ukrainians, against just ordinary people, against normal life. And that's why it's so important not to relax or rely on diplomacy alone. We must continue to strengthen our air defense, and we must support our ability to remain resilient under aggression. Every night, Ukrainian parents hold their children in basements and shelters, every night, hoping that our air defense will hold. Strengthening Ukraine's air defense and energy resilience is not just military support, it's a protection of life, a chance for the future. And we really value everything that Netherlands has already provided, from Patriot systems and F-16s, aircraft to artillery and drones. Thank you for that. And the Netherlands' leadership in the Pearl Initiative is especially meaningful, and these contributions help protect civilians and strengthen the air shield over Ukraine and over Europe. And we also welcome the steps toward joint drone production, which show that our cooperation is becoming deeper and more strategic. And I'm grateful to you for your decision to support us next year, 3.5 billion in support for Ukraine in 2026, and additional 2 in defense assistance adopted in December are powerful expressions of solidarity. We truly value this. Thank you so much. And every such act of solidarity proves one thing clearly: Russia's war will not become the norm, not now, not in the future. As long as you stand with us, and as long as our other partners stand with us, Russia stands alone with its war. This Sunday and Monday in Berlin, we held really intensive talks with President Trump's team and with Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, others, members of the team, and we're working in a great detail on documents that could stop the war and guarantee security. This is very important. And every single detail matters. Why? Because not a single detail must become a reward for Russia's aggression. If the aggressor receives a reward, he starts to believe that war pays off. And that is why justice must be central to ending this war. Please support this approach. Justice must not be pushed to the margins of diplomacy. And there was too little justice for Moldova, it's true, too little. And for Syria, and for many, many other countries, those wars dragged on. And today the problems are so difficult to solve. And we must show through Ukraine that Europe and the United States of America are capable of delivering real results in securing peace. One more point. In this war, each of us carries something that we really cannot forgive. Many Ukrainian families have lost loved ones. And Russia has completely destroyed dozens of our cities and really hundreds of villages. Our people have suffered many humiliations. Thousands of Ukrainians have suffered through brutal captivity. And during this war, there is hardly a crime against humanity that Russia has not committed. Even the Netherlands sadly knows all too well that these are not just words. We do remember MH17, a terrible act of Russian murder followed by shameful lies that cannot simply be forgotten, and the people will not forget. And when the guns stay silent, when the drones stop killing, The law must still speak. Russian root causes should be returned to Russia, and it cannot be that war criminals travel freely across Europe or the world as if they were tourists. It cannot be that those who killed are suddenly treated as respectable partners. That is why sanctions matter, and that is why conventions and mechanisms of international justice exist and must work. Alongside diplomacy, defense support for Ukraine, support for our resilience, I ask you, please continue supporting efforts to ensure legal accountability for the aggressor. So no matter how difficult it may be, and no matter how long it takes Russian war criminals must be held accountable. And the Russian state must be held responsible for the crime of aggression. The Netherlands is one of the key drivers behind the creation of a tribunal for the crime of aggression and real accountability for war criminals. And I believe you understand every emotion we have when it comes to justice, and thank you for that. With partners like you and with approaches like yours, with the principled stance you continue to show, we can achieve a truly lasting peace. Please use your influence to help make it happen. Thank you very much. Thanks, Netherlands. Thank you for invitation, dear ladies and gentlemen. And I truly hope that the next time I address your parliament, it will be with gratitude for a peace that has been achieved. Thank you. Slava Ukraini. Thank you so much. Thank you. I can do it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now close this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much.